Okay. So magandang hapon ulit sa ating lahat. So for today, we will be tackling some of the frequently missed questions sa soil science. Let's start with number one, the different mechanisms of nutrient movement towards plant roots. So ang paggalaw ng nutrients from the soil going to the roots ay hindi po magic yan. Okay? It's not like the root acts as a sponge na inaabsorb lang niya yung mga nutrients na nasa soil. Meron po tayong mechanism that helps that movement. Okay? And ano yung tatlong mechanism na yon? That would be mass flow, diffusion, and root interception. So yan yung tatlo na kailangan yung tandaan. Okay? These are the three mechanisms. These are the three movements of how nutrients go to the roots in order for the plants to use it. So let's start with mass flow. Okay? What is mass flow? Mass flow is the movement of dissolved nutrients to the roots with the help of water. So ibig sabihin, yung mga nutrients, humahalo siya dun sa tubig, kaya importante ang tubig sa lupa, and yung tubig na yon, yun yung nagdadala ng nutrients papunta doon sa ating roots. Okay? Now, ang tawag natin doon sa tubig na nahaluan na ng nutrients, we call that, actually, ang tawag natin doon sa tubig na nasa soil, okay, that helps move the nutrients from the soil to the roots, we call them as soil solution. Okay? So, usually, yung mga nutrients na yung mga nutrients that moves through via mass flow is yung ating nitrogen, calcium, magnesium, and sulfate. Okay? Boron can also be is also an element, a nutrient that is usually delivered through mass flow. Okay? Now, kapag ang madalas na tanong sa exam is usually NPK, yung NPK na nutrient natin. So kapag tinanong kayo sa exam kung paano nagmo-move ang nitrogen, for example, from the soil to the plant roots, ang sagot agad dapat dyan is via mass flow. Okay? Why? Kasi yung nitrogen, the available part, the available form na nitrogen, kasi later on, madidiscuss natin na may mga nitrogen na hindi available sa halaman. Pero yung available na form ng nitrogen is highly soluble in water. Okay? Ibig sabihin, hindi siya masyadong dumidikit sa soil, pero madikit siya sa tubig. And since mass flow, ang mechanism ng mass flow is to deliver nutrients through the soil solution, dahil mas madikit si nitrogen doon sa soil solution, kaya mass flow yung main pathway niya, yung main mechanism niya on how it gets to the roots of the plant. Now, aside from mass flow, another mechanism that allows nutrients to move from the soil to the roots is diffusion. Sa elementary days, paano ini-explain ng mga science teachers natin, paano in-explain ng mga science teacher natin ang diffusion? Sa case ko noon, in-explain nila ang diffusion by using pabango, di ba? So yung in-spray yung pabango, right? Doon sa classroom. And mapapansin natin na doon sa point kung saan in-spray yung pabango, pagkakaspray pa lang, mabango siya. Amoy na amoy mo yung fragrance. However, you will notice na paunti ng paunti yung scent as the perfume goes around the room. Kasi ang konsepto ng diffusion is that nutrients or molecules move from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. So katulad ng example natin doon sa pabango, nagdi-diffuse siya from the source kung saan siya na-spray, and ipipilit ng mga molecules to fill in the gap kung saan siya na-spray. Okay? So from higher concentration, kung saan siya na-spray, papunta sa buong room. So ganun din po yung konsepto ng diffusion as a mechanism of nutrient movement. Yung mga nutrients from the soil moves from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. So isipin nyo, yung nutrients gumagalaw sa lupa via the mechanism of diffusion by, kapag mataas yung concentration sa, let's say, mataas ang concentration sa portion na yan, at mababa ang concentration sa portion na to, yung mga nutrients na nasa higher concentration, gagalaw siya papunta sa kabila. Okay, so from high going to low. Kasi ang kanyang logic dyan is i-fill niya yung mga gaps, yung mga spaces kung saan hindi pa nalalagyan ng nutrients na yun. Okay? Now, kapag tinanong naman kayo sa exam kung ano yung isa sa mga nutrients that is usually taken up, that has this mechanism of nutrient movement, ang sagot po dyan is P. Okay? So, what is P? Phosphorus. Okay? So, bakit ho kaya ang phosphorus hindi siya nade-deliver through mass flow? Bakit kaya through diffusion siya? Kasi ang phosphorus natin, hindi siya ganon kadikit sa tubig. So, hindi siya masyadong dumidikit sa soil solution natin. Usually, ang ating phosphorus, madikit siya doon sa lupa mismo. So, it strongly reacts or binds with clay surfaces in the soil. So, sa lupa siya dumidikit, right? Now, kapag yung lupa, let's say, dito, maraming phosphorus, tapos dito sa area na to, wala masyadong phosphorus, nagmo-move yung phosphorus from the area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. And we call that diffusion. Okay? Diffusion po ang tawag doon. Now, ano kaya sa tingin nyo ang mas mabilis? Mass flow or diffusion? So, ang sagot dyan, another question yan, no? Pag tinanong kayo, ano ang mas mabilis na movement? Mass flow or diffusion? Ang sagot po dyan, mass flow. Okay? Mas mabilis ang mass flow kasi may carrier siya na soil solution that would move the nutrients from the soil going to the roots. Whereas sa diffusion, kailangan ma-deplete muna yung area na to bago gumalaw yung nutrients papunta doon. By the way, ang tawag doon sa area ng soil kung saan nauubos na yung nutrients, ang tawag po dyan is nutrient depletion zone. Okay? So gumagalaw yung mga nutrients na yan, particularly phosphorus, dun sa nutrient depletion zone. Kaya kung papansin niyo, ang phosphorus, kapag mag-a-apply tayo ng phosphorus na fertilizer sa lupa, nilalagay yan ni farmer malapit sa roots. Why? Kasi hindi siya nakikarry out through mass flow. Okay? So wala siyang carrier na soil solution. Kaya inilalagay siya malapit doon para kahit na mabagal siya, okay, kahit na mabagal yung paggalaw ng phosphorus, nakakatulong yung location na yon para quote-unquote mapabilis yung pagpunta ng phosphorus doon sa ating roots. Yan. So that is diffusion. Now finally, we have root interception. So alam naman natin na yung roots ng halaman at its early stage, no, up until it hits maturity, lumalaki yan. Okay? Now kapag lumalaki yung roots ng halaman, kapag ito ay humahaba, natatamaan niya ngayon yung portion ng lupa na may nutrients. Okay? So yun yung ibig sabihin ng root interception. It's now the roots reaching out to the nutrients, not the nutrients reaching to the roots. Okay? So kanina yung diffusion at saka mass flow, kung mapapansin nyo, yung nutrients siya yung lumalapit sa roots. Sa root interception, hindi po. Yung roots ang lumalapit doon sa nutrient. Okay? So, another feature ng root interception is that usually, lahat naman ng nutrients na-absorb or lahat naman ng nutrients move toward the plant roots through root interception. However, Okay? When the exam asks you, alin sa tatlong mechanism dyan ang nagpo-provide ng smallest proportion of plant's total nutrients, ang sagot po dyan, root interception. So yes, nakakatulong ang root interception sa pagkuha ng nutrients from the soil going to the roots, pero maliit lang na portion ng nutrients yung nakukuha ng halaman via the mechanism of root interception. So para mas mabilis nating matandaan, you can use this memory aid. Kapag sinabi nating mass flow, ano yung distinct characteristic na? It is the water or the soil solution that brings the nutrients. Okay? Kapag sinabi naman nating diffusion, ang keyword dyan na hahanapin nyo, depleted root zone. Or, you can also look at the keyword from higher concentration to lower concentration, diffusion. Anong chemical, anong nutrient ulit ang madalas nagmo-move through diffusion? It is P, no? Phosphorus. How about root interception? Ibig lang sabihin yan, the root grows toward the nutrients. It's not the nutrients going to the roots, but the roots going to the nutrients. Okay? Next topic is about the diagnosis of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium deficiencies, particularly in corn. So bakit po kaya tayo nag-focus sa corn? Kasi yan yung nakalagay dun sa table of specifications natin. Okay? So hindi ko rin alam kung ano yung logic, pero when it comes to nutrient deficiency, ang sample plant na inilagay mismo dun sa table of specification is corn. Now, ang pagpo-focusan lang natin dito is the nutrient deficiency of our major big nutrients, yung big three natin, which is nitrogen, phosphorus, at potassium, or yung tinatawag nating NPK. Okay? So, dyan lang tayo muna mag-focus. But before that, let's talk about the general deficiency. Okay, the general deficiency of nutrients, particularly if we classify our nutrients as mobile or immobile nutrients. So ano ba ibig sabihin kapag ang nutrients natin ay mobile? It simply means the nutrients can move throughout the plant. Gumagalaw siya doon sa halaman. So once na na-absorb siya ng halaman, umiikot siya doon sa buong sistema ng halaman. That's what it means that the nutrient is mobile. Okay? Kapag sinabi naman natin na immobile yung nutrient, hindi po siya gumagalaw. Steady lang po siya. So once na na-absorb siya ng plant, at a particular place kung saan siya nailugar, nandun lamang siya. Hindi siya gumagalaw. Okay? Now, given that we have two types of nutrients, mobile and immobile, ano yung effect ng mga nutrients na yan kapag sila ay nagkulang doon sa halaman? Or the question is, ano yung naaapektuhan? Yan ba yung mga older parts or older leaves of the plant or yung mga younger parts of the plant? Now, pagdating sa mobile or those moving nutrients within the plant, ang naaapektuhan po dyan kapag kulang siya, ay yung mga older at lower leaves. So bakit kaya yun yung naaapektuhan? Kasi remember, the nutrient here is moving. And madalas, ang movement niyan is from the older parts of the plant going to the younger parts of the plant. Kaya kapag kulang yung nutrient mo, nawawala yung nutrient from the older kasi nga pumupunta siya dun sa younger parts of the plant. Kaya ang naapektuhan, ang nawawalan, is yung older parts of the plant. Okay? So yan yung key characteristic kapag mobile yung ating nutrient. How about kapag immobile? Kapag immobile, ang naapektuhan dyan naman is the younger or upper leaves. Kasi kapag kulang yung nutrients, yung mga immobile nutrients natin, hindi gumagalaw yung nutrients. So kapag nakapasok na yan sa older parts, no, older tissues of the plant, nag-i-steady lang siya doon. Kapag kulang yan, hindi na siya nagso-circulate papunta dun sa mga younger or upper portion part of your plant. Okay? So yun yung logic behind mobile and immobile nutrients and kung ano yung naaapektuhan nila na plant part, whether that be the older parts or the younger parts. Now, ang NPK natin, is that a mobile or immobile nutrient? O, yun yung question. NPK, mobile or immobile nutrient? Tingin nyo. Your NPK is... Okay, sige. Okay, yes, correct, no? Your NPK is a mobile nutrient. Lahat po yan. So, for example, nitrogen. Okay? So, since nitrogen is a mobile nutrient, alin ang naapektuhan? Younger or older parts of the plant? It would be correct, no? Older parts, kasi nga mobile siya. Nawawalan yung nutrients from the older part going to the younger. Okay? So, ang nitrogen, very important po yan na component ng chlorophyll. Nitrogen. Kaya, isa sa mga classic na symptom niya talaga pagdating sa corn is yellowing. Now, we want to be very particular. Anong klaseng yellowing? Usually, yung yellowing na yan begins at the tip of an older leaves, okay? Go of an older leaf and progresses towards along the midrib. Okay? So, nagkakaroon ng yellowing dyan sa gitna nung ating leaf blade. So, yan yung classic symptom ng nitrogen deficiencies in corn. Okay? Yellowing. Okay? A V-shaped yellowing begins in the tip of the leaf blade, progressing downward along the midrib. Okay? Nitrogen deficiency in corn yan. Ano naman po kapag phosphorus ang deficient? O again, pag phosphorus ang deficient, older ba or younger parts of the plant yung maapektuhan? Okay, ano ang phosphorus? Mobile, immobile. So, ang phosphorus ay mobile. So, it means yung older parts of the leaves ang maapektuhan dyan. Now, ang phosphorus naman, very important naman po yan sa energy transfer and root development. Okay? So, energy transfer and root development. And, isa sa mga pinaka-classic na symptom kapag kulang ang phosphorus pagdating sa corn is yung pagkakaroon ng purplish or reddish purple na discoloration ng older leaves. So, nagiging color violet. Okay? So, nagiging color violet. So, bakit kaya nagiging color violet yung dahon ng corn? Kasi, yung color violet na yon is actually an accumulation of a pigment called anthocyanin. Okay? So, yung accumulation yan ng pigment called anthocyanin. Kaya, nagko-color violet yung dahon ng corn natin. Now, bakit kaya? Kasi diba sabi natin na ang phosphorus, very important yan sa energy use ng halaman. Okay? Now, kapag kulang yung phosphorus, hindi nakakapag-produce ng energy yung halaman. So, nadidisrupt ngayon yung kanyang sugar, what do you call this? Sugar generation pathways. So, dahil na-disrupt yung sugar niya, nag-accumulate siya doon sa dahon, and yung pag-accumulate ng sugar doon sa dahon causes now the anthocyanin to be formed. And when anthocyanin is formed, the leaves become purple. Okay? So, yun naman yung mechanism yun naman yung mechanism kapag kulang ang phosphorus sa corn. Next, paano naman sir kapag kulang ang potassium? Okay? Paano kapag kulang ang potassium? So kapag kulang naman ang potassium, so ano muna ang function ng potassium? Potassium is very important sa pagre-regulate ng tubig sa halaman. So water regulation and stomatal movement, ano? Yung pagbukas ng stomata at yung pagsara ng stomata. Pero isipin niyo na lang, important siya sa water, okay? Water regulation and retention doon sa halaman. Okay? And the most classic characteristic that you can see kapag kulang ang potassium sa ating corn is yellowing along the margins of the leaf blade. Okay? Kanina yung nitrogen yellowing from the tip papunta sa midrib, dun sa gitna. Ang potassium naman yellowing sa gilid, dun sa margin. And the same time, okay? At the same time, yung tip nung ating leaf blade ng corn becomes brown. Usually, nagkakaroon ng browning yan. So, browning yung mga area na yan. So, magi-start siya as yellowing sa margins. And then after that, kakaroon ng tinatawag nating browning. Okay? Yan. So, browning, yun yung isa sa mga key characteristic ng potassium deficiency. So, kapag nitrogen, yellowing, particularly sa gitna. Kapag potassium, purplish discoloration because of anthocyanin. Kapag naman potassium, kapag phosphorus ang kulang, Kapag phosphorus ang kulang is purpling ng color dahil sa anthocyanin. And kapag potassium naman po ang kulang, nagkukos siya ng yellowing. Initially, yellowing. So magsisimula sa yellowing, hindi sa gitna, pero sa gilid ng dahon. And then, ang next doon is browning. Okay? Kasi nga, hindi nakakapag-regulate ng maayos ng tubig yung ating corn because potassium is very important in water regulation. Hindi nare-retain ng maayos yung tubig doon sa katawan ng ating corn. Okay. Next topic that we will be discuss is on the process of nitrification. Okay? So, what is nitrification? Nitrification is simply the process of converting atmospheric nitrogen, which is your N2, to become a form na available sa ating halaman. So you have to understand na yung plants natin, hindi nila na-absorb yung N2 sa atmosphere. Hindi nila kaya. Okay? Hindi nila kayang ma-access yan. Pero, because of the nitrification process, the nitrogen in the atmosphere can be formed or it can be transformed. Pwede siyang magbago ng composition nang sa ganun, maging available siya sa ating halaman. Okay? Nitrification po ang tawag sa prosesong yan. Okay? So, isa-isahin lang natin yung proseso. First, of course, ano yung main ingredient para magkaroon ng nitrogen yung halaman or para magkaroon ng available form of nitrogen yung halaman? Kailangan niya ng nitrogen from the atmosphere. And that is N2. Okay? Now, itong nitrogen from the atmosphere na ito is being utilized by nitrogen fixing bacteria sa lupa. So sila yung gagamit ng nitrogen from the atmosphere. And usually kapag ginamit yan ng mga bacteria, yung nitrogen nagiging ammonia. And for some decomposers, they turn the N2, so ginagamit nila yung N2 into ammonium. Kapag naman yung atmospheric nitrogen natin naging ammonium, ang tawag natin sa process na yun ay ammonification. Alright? Ammonification. Now for some, kapag present yung ammonia oxidizing bacteria or ammonia oxidizing archaea sa lupa, like Nitrosomonas Nitrosococcus, and Thaumarchiota, SP, okay, yung ammonium is being turned to nitrite. Okay? Now, itong nitrite na to, by the way, okay, mag-backtrack lang tayo. Now, itong ammonium na to, balik muna tayo sa ammonium, yung NH4, isa yan sa mga form ng nitrogen na available sa plant. So, kapag naging NH4 yan, available na siya for plant absorption. But then, we don't stop at NH4. We don't stop at the atmospheric nitrogen becoming ammonium kasi may conversion pa ulit na nangyayari dyan. Sabi ko nga, kapag yung mga ammonia oxidizing bacteria or archaea is present in the soil, the ammonium can become a nitrite. Okay? Pwede siyang maging nitrite. Now, ang nitrite, question, na-absorb ba yan ng halaman or hindi? Ang sagot, yes, in some cases. In some cases. Pero hindi siya readily available sa lahat ng halaman. In only some cases, in only some plants, available na nitrogen ang nitrite. But then, yung nitrite na to, sa tulong ng mga nitrite oxidizing bacteria, katulad ng Nitrobacter at Nitrococcus, okay, they now turn nitrite into nitrate. Okay? They turn nitrite into nitrate. And dyan na pumapasok yung konsepto ng nitrification. Kasi yung nitrate na yan na ngayon yung most available form of nitrogen to all plants. Okay? So kapag tinanong kayo kung anong luto ng nitrogen ang pinaka-available sa mga plants para ma-absorb nila, okay, through the process of assimilation, ang sagot po dyan, nitrate. Yan yung pinakatamang sagot, nitrate. Ngayon, paano kapag walang nitrate sa choices? Ang susunod na hanapin mo, ammonium. Okay? Ammonium ang susunod na hanapin mo. Paano kapag walang ammonium at saka nitrate? Pero merong nitrite. Pwede ang nitrite, ano? Kasi in some cases, available siya. In some cases, but not all. Okay? So, alin ang hindi available sa halaman? You have ammonia at saka atmospheric nitrogen. Hindi po yan available sa ating mga halaman. Alright? So, klaro kung ano yung best answer dun sa tanong na kung ano yung most available form of nitrogen sa halaman, that would be nitrate. Kung walang nitrate, ammonium. Kung walang ammonium, nitrite. But in some cases only. The rest, like ammonia and atmospheric nitrogen, hindi yan available sa ating halaman. Now, yung nitrate natin, kapag yan ay inabsorb ng halaman, or sometimes it is even eaten, ikinain nung hayop yung halaman, bumabalik na ngayon yan doon sa atmosphere. Okay? Kaya ang nitrification is a cycle. So kapag bumalik yung nitrogen from the soil to the atmosphere, ang tawag po dyan, denitrification. Okay? Denitrification. So, nitrification, kapag yung atmospheric nitrogen naging nitrate, denitrification naman kapag yung nitrate bumalik sa atmosphere. Okay. Next, let's talk about soil water constants and plant available water. So question, what happens when the soil is completely wet? Right? Kapag umulan ng malakas and the soil is completely wet, basang-basa yung lupa, ano pong tawag natin doon? Ang tawag natin doon, saturation. Right? So when the soil is completely wet, we call that saturation. Okay? We call that saturation point. Pwede rin. Now ngayon, kapag umaraw na ulit, yung tubig na nasa lupa, bababa yan. Okay? So some water from the soil will go down, yung mga excess water. Because of gravity, it will drain away. May matitira ngayon na moisture doon sa lupa na available doon sa yung halaman. At ano namang tawag doon sa tubig or doon sa moisture na available doon sa halaman? Ang tawag doon, ang tawag doon is field capacity. Okay? So yan po yung plant available water range natin, yung field capacity na tinatawag. So remember, the soil becomes wet or saturated, pero babagsak yan through to gravitational force, magde-drain yan. Yung matitira na available doon sa ating halaman, we call that point field capacity. Or, yun yung point kung saan yung tubig is available for the plants. Okay? Now next, paano kapag inabsorb na nung halaman yung moisture or yung tubig na nasa lupa? Okay? Ibig sabihin, yung available sa kanya na tubig na nasa lupa, na absorb na niya, may tubig pa rin ba yung lupa? Ang sagot doon, yes, no? May tubig pa rin yung lupa. However, yung tubig na nasa lupa, kapag naubos na yung field capacity, hindi na siya readily absorbable by the plants. Why? Kasi usually yung mga tubig na natira na yon, they are sorry. Yun ay nakalak na doon sa mga soil colloids, doon sa mga clays ng soil. So yes, may tubig pa rin yung lupa at permanent wilting point. So permanent wilting point ang tawag doon. Pero hindi na ito available doon sa halaman. May moist pa rin, may water pa rin yung lupa, pero hindi na available sa halaman. We call that as your permanent wilting points. Okay? So, paano kaya natin i-compute yung plant water available? Plant available water na range. Plant available water. So, ano kaya ang formula ang ginagamit natin para makita kung ilang percent? Sorry, available. Kung ilang percent yung available sa tubig. So, simply, ang kukunin lang natin dyan is, ano yung water content? Ano yung water content at field capacity? So, water content at field capacity. Tapos, ima-minus natin yung water content at permanent wilting point. So, yung plant available water will be equivalent to, ano ba yung tubig, ano yung water content at field capacity, kung saan pwede siyang i-absorb ng halaman, minus yung water content at permanent wilting point. So, yan po yung formula naman ng ating plant available water. So, in order to concretize the idea, isipin nyo na lang na meron kayong drum ng tubig. Kapag yung drum ng tubig na yon is filled out to the brim and it is overflowing, ang tawag po doon, saturation. Okay? Saturation. Ngayon, let's say tumigil na yung pagulan or yung pagkarga ng tubig doon sa drum na yon. Anong gagawin natin? Mag-iigib tayo. So, mag-iigib tayo, kukuha tayo ng tubig, ililipat natin somewhere, yung pagkuha natin ng tubig na yun, yung tubig na kinukuha natin, yung usable water, yun po yung field capacity. So, isipin nyo, gumagamit lang kayo ng tabo, ano? So, nililipat nyo, kinukuha nyo yung tubig from the drum, papunta sa somewhere. Yan. Pero, di ba, kahit na gaano tayo kagaling, no, kapag gamit natin yung tabo na yon, darating yung point na sasabihin natin, ubos na yung laman ng drum. Pero kung titignan mo, meron pa rin kaunting-kaunting tubig at the bottom. Pero bakit di na natin kinukuha? Kasi hindi na natin makuha. Siguro ay maliit yung ating kamay, hindi na natin masaid yung tubig, or sadyang kapag ginaganon mo yung tabo, hindi na talaga siya makuha-kuha. Yun naman na yung permanent wilting point. Okay? So again, ang plant available water, ang formula niya is the water at field capacity minus the water at permanent wilting point. You will now get your plant available water. Okay? Next topic, let's talk about the difference between these three: infiltration, percolation, and runoff. So ano kaya yung ibig sabihin ng mga terms na yan? Okay? Okay. So first, unahin natin yung infiltration. Kapag umulan, or kapag tayo ay nag-irrigate ng field, kapag yung tubig na yon ay pumasok sa lupa, it enters the pore spaces of the soil, yun po yung ibig sabihin natin ng infiltration. So the keyword there is in. Okay? In, moving into the soil, infiltration po yan. Okay? Infiltration. Ngayon, may gravity. Okay? Kapag pumasok yung tubig doon sa lupa at hinatak siya ng gravity pababa, okay? Hinatak ng gravity pababa for drainage purposes, okay? Or the downward movement of water within the soil, ang tawag mo naman po doon, percolation. Right? Percolation. The downward movement of water in the soil, we call that as percolation. Now, sometimes kapag naparami yung ating pag i-irrigate ng ating lupa or napalakas yung ulan, hindi lahat ng tubig doon sa lupa ay papasok at hindi rin lahat ng tubig magpo-percolate or it will move downward. Some of the water will move across. Okay? Kasi nga, hindi na kaya nung lupa na mag-absorb pa ng additional water. So kapag nag-move yung lupa across the soil surfaces, ang tawag naman po natin dyan ay runoff. Okay? So remember the difference. In, water moves into the soil, infiltration. If water moves downward within the soil, percolation. So downward yung keyword ng percolation. If water moves across the soil, we call that as runoff. Okay? Runoff naman if it moves across the soil. Kasi hindi na niya kayang bumaba, hindi na kaya nung lupa na mag-absorb pa ng additional water, so the water will find its path. Hahanap pa rin yan, gagalaw pa rin yan. Ang tawag po doon, runoff. Okay? And finally, let's talk about sodic soils. Okay? And how do we rehabilitate sodic soil? So ano ho ba ang sodic soil? Now, a sodic soil contains a high proportion of sodium in the soil colloids. Okay? Now, ano yung soil colloids natin? Sinabi natin soil colloids, nandiyan yung mga clay particles, nandiyan yung mga organic matter particles. Now, usually, itong colloids na to, they carry negative charges. Kaya nag-a-attract sila ng mga nutrients that carry positive charges. So yung mga soil colloids natin, they are negative charges and they attract nutrients or elements with positive charge. No? Kasi yung konsepto nga ng exchangeable cations, right? So dapat opposite attracts. Ngayon, ano yung mga na-attract ng soil colloid na may negative charge? Nakaka-attract yan ng calcium, magnesium, potassium. Pero sometimes it attracts a lot of sodium. Kasi remember, sodium is positively charged. Okay? Now, when the soil attracts too much sodium, ang tawag po natin dun sa soil na yan, sodic soil. Okay? Sodic soil po ang tawag doon. Now, are sodic soils healthy soils or unhealthy soils? Ang sagot dyan, sodic soils are unhealthy. In fact, they are harmful to your plants. Okay? So, balik tayo dito. Now, ang soil na nakaka-attract ng, let's say, calcium or magnesium, maganda yan. Okay? Why? Kasi ang calcium at magnesium, it acts as a glue. Okay? Yung calcium at saka magnesium. Kaya kapag marami kang calcium at magnesium sa lupa, particularly, nagkakaroon ka ng magandang soil aggregates. Okay? Soil aggregates, or we call that as your soil structure. Okay? So kapag may calcium ka, marami kang calcium at saka magnesium sa lupa, yung lupa mo maayos, nagkakadikit-dikit yung mga soil colloids. So nagkakaroon ka ngayon ng maayos na soil aggregate, nagkakaroon ka ng maayos na soil structure. However, ang sodium, it does not hold clay particles together as effectively as your magnesium and calcium. Kaya kapag napakadaming sodium dun sa exchange sites ng lupa mo, the clay particles will repel each other. Ibig sabihin, yung lupa mo masyadong buhaghag. Okay? So, masyadong buhaghag. And because masyadong buhaghag yung lupa, kasi hindi nagdidikit-dikit yung soil, ito yung mga problems that is associated with sodic soils. Clay dispersion, very poor yung soil structure. Instead na granular yung soil structure natin, hindi na, kasi yung granules na yon, hindi nila kayang magdikit-dikit together. So they are being dispersed. At the same time, very poor ang infiltration. So isipin nyo, yung lupa, buhaghag na nga siya, pero hindi pa halos makadaan yung tubig sa kanya. Okay? That's because of the fact that sodium is positive. Okay? Very poor ang permeability at saka drainage, and very poor din ang soil erosion. So sa soil science, mahalaga na yung lupa natin is granular in terms of structure, holding all other things constant. We want na granular yung soil, hindi masyadong buhaghag, maayos yung infiltration, and maayos yung permeability and drainage. Okay? Not unless you are planting a specific crop, katulad ng rice, na gusto mo may hard pan dun sa pinakadulo para mag-accumulate yung tubig. Now, paano natin aayusin ang sodic soils? Now, usually, hindi ka pwedeng magdagdag lang ng tubig and expect na mawawash out yung sodic soils. Kasi nga, remember, kapag sodic yung soil mo, very low ang infiltration sa lupa. Okay? And at the same time, mas lalong kakalat yung sodium, yung dominant amount of sodium dun sa lupa mo. So baka mas marami pa yung maapektuhan. So the most common solution that farmers use is by using gypsum. Okay? And how does gypsum use to reclaim sodic soils? So una, ano ba ang chemical name ng gypsum? This would be this one, So gypsum 'yan. Now titignan niyo yung gypsum nyo mayaman sa calcium ions. And yan yung isa sa mga pinaka-importanteng part ng sodic soil reclamation. So what happens? Una, yung sodic soil natin, marami siyang sodium. And because maraming sodium, nagdi-disperse yung mga clay, and it destroys now the soil structures. When gypsum is applied, nasusuplayan ng calcium, di ba? Yung lupa. And kapag na-supply mo yung calcium na yan, papalitan ng calcium yung sodium na yan. And then, tsaka ka mag-i-irrigate. Okay? Kasi, instead na sodium yung dumikit doon sa soil colloids mo, calcium na. So, na-displace na ngayon yung sodium natin. Pwede ka na ngayon mag-irrigate in order to replace the sodium with calcium. Now, if you do that consistently, okay, nawawala yung sodium sa lupa, napapalitan ng calcium, gumaganda ngayon yung soil structure ng lupa. And what you can notice after that is that the soil will start to flocculate. Nag-start na sila na magdikit-dikit, Kasi yung calcium, para siyang glue sa mga soil. So when they start to flocculate, kapag sila ay nagdikit-dikit, gaganda na ngayon yung soil structure ng lupa, gaganda na ngayon yung infiltration rate, gaganda na yung permeability ng lupa, etc. So that is one way to reclaim sodic soils. So kapag tinanong kayo sa exam, how do you reclaim an acidic soil? You apply lime. Diba? Kapag acidic yung lupa, you apply lime. Pero kapag tinanong naman kayo, how can you reclaim sodic soils? The answer is, you apply gypsum. Okay? Gypsum po yan. So remember yung gypsum na yan, it does not wash away the sodium, but it only replaces the sodium particles in the soil. And kapag ikaw na ay nagdilig, maaalis na ngayon yung sodium na yan. Yun yung mechanism on how gypsum is helpful in reclaiming or in fixing the problem of sodic soils. Okay. Now, let's start with our quiz. Maglabas ulit kayo ng papel or prepare sa chat nyo yung mga sagot nyo for this 17 identification questions. So yung soil science natin, mas maikli siya kaysa sa crop protection. No? Mas kaunti yung frequently missed questions nyo sa soil science as compared sa crop protection. So ibig sabihin, mas marami sa inyo ang nakaka-master or na-master na yung konsepto ng soil science. Right? So let's start with question number 1. Sabi dito, it is the soil-water condition at which some water remains in the soil but it is held too tightly for plant roots to extract. Anong tawag dyan? May tubig pa rin yung lupa, pero hindi na siya available doon sa ating plant. What do you call that soil-water condition? Sagot? Permanent wilting point. Tama. Okay? Permanent wilting point po ang tamang sagot dyan. Next. This nutrient deficiency in corn causes yellowing that begins at the leaf tip and develops downward along the midrib, producing a V-shaped pattern on older leaves. O anong kulang kapag may yellowing? Correct. Nitrogen po ang kulang dyan. So, nitrogen deficiency. Next question. It is the process by which water enters the soil from the soil surface. It goes into the soil. Anong tawag sa process na yan? Infiltration. Okay, so infiltration po ang tawag dyan. Infiltration. Ito. Anong tawag sa mga microorganisms that convert ammonia or ammonium into nitrite during the first stage of nitrification? Ano kayang tawag doon? Yung general term doon sa mga microorganisms that convert ammonia or ammonium into nitrites. We call that as tawag po natin dyan ay nitrifying bacteria. O, AOB. Ano yung AOB? Or AOA, pwede rin. We call that as your... Okay, so in general, ang tawag po natin dyan ay ammonia oxidizing bacteria. Okay? So example ng ammonia oxidizing bacteria would be your Nitrosomonas and Nitrosococcus. Okay? So anong ginagawa ng mga to? It converts ammonia or ammonium to nitrites. Okay? Ammonia oxidizing bacteria. Remember, ang tinatanong po natin dyan ay yung microorganism. Not the process. Okay? Hindi po yung proseso. Anong tawag doon sa microorganism? Next, it is the movement of water ions from an area of higher concentration toward a nutrient-depleted area near the roots. So ano kaya ang water movement mechanism yan? The movement of nutrient ions from an area of higher concentration towards a nutrient-depleted area. Example niyan is phosphorus. Anong sagot kaya dyan? Diffusion. Tama, no? Diffusion po ang tawag dyan. Diffusion. Okay? Diffusion. Kasi meron tayong tatlo na mechanisms of water movement. Mass flow, root interception, at saka diffusion. When the nutrients move from higher concentration toward a lower concentration or depleted area, diffusion po ang tawag doon. Next, this soil amendment supplies calcium that replaces exchangeable sodium on soil colloids during sodic soil reclamation. Gypsum. Very good. Okay? Gypsum po yan. This nutrient deficiency in corn is characterized by purplish or reddish-purple discoloration, commonly appearing first on older leaves. P yan. Okay? Ang P po ay hindi potassium, ha? K ang potassium. So yan ay phosphorus. Tama, no? Phosphorus. Kulang ang phosphorus sa corn kapag nakakapansin ka na nag-purple na yung color ng leaf blade. And ano yung pigment na nagkokos ng purple color dun sa leaf? Anong tawag doon? Hindi po chlorophyll. Purple pigment. Anthocyanin po. No? Anthocyanin ang tawag doon. Anthocyanin. Anthocyanin. Okay? Yan yung nagkokos ng purple color dun sa leaf. Ang nagkokos ng green color is the chlorophyll. Yun yung pigment. Okay? Okay lang yan. Di bale, sa exam naman, hindi naman kayo mag-i-spell. Pipili lang kayo ng A, B, or C. Malaga, alam niyo yung sagot. Next. It is the water remaining in the soil after excess gravitational water has been drained away and represents the upper limit of plant available water. Ano naman dyan? Anong naman tawag dyan? Dun sa tubig na available na after the water has infiltrated, percolated dun sa soil. Field capacity po yan. Correct. Field capacity. Field capacity. It is the movement of water across the land surface when water cannot enter the soil fast enough or when the soil is already saturated. Tawag dyan ay runoff. Correct, no? The movement of water across the soil. Runoff. O, ito naman. These microorganisms convert nitrite into nitrate during the second stage of nitrification. Remember, microorganisms yung tinatanong. Anong tawag dun sa microorganism na yan? Kanina meron tayong ammonia oxidizing bacteria. Ngayon naman, anong tawag dyan? They convert nitrite to nitrate. We call that as... Andyan na po, yes. Tama, yung Nitrobacter is kasama na po dyan, base dun sa statement. Pero anong tawag sa kanila in general? Anong tawag sa Nitrobacter and Nitrococcus in general? We call them as your... Ang tawag po dyan ay nitrite oxidizing bacteria or NOB. Yan, correct. NOB, nitrite oxidizing bacteria. Next, it is the nutrient movement mechanism. Again, nutrient movement mechanism in which growing roots directly contact the nutrients. So the roots reach out to the nutrients found on soil particles or in soil solution. Anong tawag sa nutrient movement mechanism na yan? Yung roots ang nag-reach dun sa nutrients, interception, or more precisely, we call that as root interception. Okay, root interception. Next, this soil condition is characterized by excessive exchangeable sodium, clay dispersion, poor soil structure, and low water infiltration. O, anong tawag mo dun sa lupa kapag sobrang dami, very excessive ang exchangeable sodium? Tawag dyan ay sodic soils. Correct. Sodic soils. Sodic soils. Next. This nutrient deficiency in corn causes yellowing along the margins. O, yellowing pero hindi sa gitna, but rather dun sa margin ng older leaves, followed by browning or scorching or necrosis along the edges. Ang kulang dyan, potassium. Okay? Potassium deficiency. Next, it is the downward movement of water within the soil profile after the water has already entered the soil. Ang tawag doon? The downward movement of water, we call that, correct, tumpak, percolation. Percolation po yan. Percolation. Next, this nutrient movement mechanism carries dissolved nitrate, calcium, magnesium, sulfate, and boron towards actively transpiring roots together with soil water. Now, paggalaw ng nutrients together with water, tama, no? Mass flow po yan. O, question, ano yung nutrient na madalas nagmo-move via the mechanism of diffusion? Phosphorus, correct, no? Phosphorus yung nagmo-move. Phosphorus po. Ang potassium, usually mass flow rin yan. Kasi positively charged ang potassium. Parang sodium. Mass flow. O, next. What are the two major inorganic forms of nitrogen that plant roots can readily absorb from the soil? So, anong form ng nitrogen? Yung readily available sa halaman. Ano pa yung isa? Nitrate, correct? Ano yung isa? Readily available rin ang ammonium. Okay? Nitrate and ammonium. Which form of nitrogen naman is generally not directly available to most plants and must be first converted through nitrification. Yung hindi available sa halaman, tama, no? Ammonia ay hindi available sa halaman. Ano pa yung isa? Ammonia or NH3, hindi siya readily available sa halaman. Ammonium available, ammonia hindi. Ano pa yung isa na hindi available sa halaman? Nitrite is somehow available. Pero not in all cases. N2, or anong tawag sa N2? Yung nitrogen na nasa atmosphere. So we call that as atmospheric nitrogen. So tama naman, no? It could be ammonia, it could be atmospheric nitrogen. Ang nitrite, available siya in some conditions, not in all conditions. Alright? So, again, before we end, ang next na topic natin would be on some techniques, systems, tools, tips on how to improve your review sessions. Kasi alam ko kung bakit kayo nag-enroll sa Learning Agri with Al is because you want to self-study. Ayaw nyo umattend sa review center, gusto nyo mag-self-study. So mahalaga na makakuha kayo ng tips sa akin, ng some knowledge on how you will do it on your own as well. Kasi yung mga resources natin sa Learning Agri with Al, nandyan lang yan. Pero kung di nyo yan gagamitin, hindi rin ito hindi rin mag-work. Okay? Or yeah, some of you are working, so you want some sort of flexibility. So, ano yung tip na iiwan ko sa inyo today? It is still from the book Make It Stick. Ang topic is to mix up your practice. Okay? To mix up your practice. So, ano yung main idea ng pag-mix up ng practice natin? Okay? Practice becomes stronger when related skills are alternated, not isolated until they feel easy. Now, ano ang opposite ng mixed practice? Ang opposite po ng mixed practice is what we call as block practice. Now, when you say block practice, yan yung ginagawa natin kapag ni-review natin yung isang subject and same topics or same concepts na related ng paulit-ulit. For example, first month ng July, this month of July, ang nireview mo lang ay soil science. Paulit-ulit na soil science up until matapos ang July. And then August, paulit-ulit naman na animal science. And then another subject naman on the following month. Okay? So yun yung block practice. Now, ang block practice, nagmumukha siyang effective at face value. Kasi, basically, you are reviewing the same topic over and over again or related topics over and over again. So, in terms of comfort, dun sa brain natin, recalling the information, it's easier. Okay? So, block practice yon. Now, ang mixed practice, iibahin mo siya, iibahin mo yung mga subject na nire-review mo everyday. Now, this one is harder. Okay? Hindi siya ganun kakomportable. Kasi isipin nyo, from agricultural extension na topic, pupunta kayo ng animal science, which is way, way different from agricultural extension. Kaya mahirap, no? Kasi magkaiba yung theories and yung concepts na nasa AgX, tapos dadalhin nyo sa isang highly technical subject na animal science. However, even though it is harder, it trains the brain to identify the problem. It trains the brain to identify the problem before answering it, and at the same time, it helps the brain consolidate knowledge. Okay? Now remember, pagdating sa review, ang goal natin ay hindi ulit-ulitin yung mga topics. Ang goal natin ay i-mix it up para nang sa ganun, kapag tinanong tayo sa exam ng something na highly complicated or complex na problem, kahit pabalik-balik na rin yan, alam natin kung paano, alam ng brain natin kung paano i-retrieve yung information. So even though mixed practice is harder, it is actually much more effective. Okay? So even though it is harder, it is much more effective. So paano siya naging effective? Kasi may mga pag-aaral na ginawa patungkol sa block practice at saka mixed practice. For example, merong experiment na ginawa sa mga grade 4 mathematics student. Okay? And yung mga ganito yung result, ano? Kapag yung mga questions is nanggagaling sa isang particular topic, okay? Mas effective siya, okay? Effective rin naman siya, hindi ko sinasabing hindi siya effective, ano? Kapag yung mga question ay pare-parehas, ganito ang ginawa nila, sorry, backtrack lang. So, may 4 grade students, may mga grade 4 students, yung isang group ng student, block practice. Pare-parehas yung problem sa sinolve nila. Whereas yung another set of student, mixed practice. Magkakaiba yung mga ginawa nilang mga problems. So, after that, after allowing them to review that, nag-test sila kinabukasan. So, sa tingin nyo, sino yung mas mataas ang nakuha after nung test na yon? Mas mataas ang nakuha nung mga nag-block practice. Okay? Kasi kinabukasan, i-review nila, pare-parehas, kinabukasan, nag-exam sila, mas mataas yung nakuha nung mga gumamit ng block practice strategy. However, after 1 week, tinest ulit sila. So, nag-exam ulit sila. As it turns out, mas mataas na ngayon yung nakuha ng mga grupo na nag-mix practice. In fact, ang nakuha ng grupo na nag-mix practice is 77% correct answer. Whereas yung mga nag-block practice lang is only 38%. So, ang block practice, it might be effective when you are cramming sa exam, but it's not that effective in holding information. Okay? So makikita natin yan sa case na to na nabanggit ko. So paano nyo i-apply ngayon yung mixed practice? Okay? Or we call that, in the technical parlance, we call that as interweaving or interleaving. Na paano natin i-apply yung interleaving na yan in action? So ito yung pwede nyong gawing schedule. Ito rin yung ginawa kong schedule nung ako'y nagpe-prepare during the exam. So, yung day 1 ko, let's say Monday, what I'll do is to read or to watch soil science content at saka crop protection content. Sa umaga, usually, yun ang gagawin ko. Sa oras lang, babasa, manonood lang, that's what I do. And in the evening, magre-recall ako. So, i-recall ko yung mga concepts na pag-aralan ko, nabasa ko, napanood ko sa soil science and crop protection. So, that's Monday. Tapos na ako sa review ko nun. Tuesday, gagawin ko naman for an hour, gagawin kong pinakauna, is i-recall ulit yung mga concepts sa soil science and crop protection. Kasi kapag nakatulog ka, nakakalimot ka ng mga information. So, you want to make the information sticky dun sa brain mo. So you need to review again to see if you are really learning from those previous day topics. And then, imimix ko yung recall session na yon with reading or watching ag-econ and ANSI subjects. So hindi na soil science, hindi na crop protection ang aralin ko, ag-econ at saka ANSI na. Tapos sa gabi, magre-recall ako ng ag-econ at saka ANSI. Okay? So again, medyo mix up yan, no? Kasi 2 subjects per day ang nire-review ko. On the third day, ang pwede mong gawin, i-recall mo ulit yung ag-econ and ANSI sa umaga. And then, after that, sabayan mo ng reading or watching a new topic naman. In our example here, it could be crop science or agricultural extension. Okay? And then sa gabi, you do a recall for crop science and agricultural extension. On day 4, ano yung ititest mo? Magre-recall ka ng crop science at saka ag-ex, pero ang babasahin mo na ulit ay soil science at saka crop protection. So ito yung isang way para ma-mix up nyo yung practice nyo. To make sure that you are not missing anything. Ang problem kasi sa block practice is, kapag nag-focus lang kayo sa isang subject for a month, let's say, tapos the following month, another subject, malaki yung tendency na malimutan nyo na yung mga topics from the previous month. So ang gagawin natin, dapat every day, at least meron kang iba-ibang subjects na nire-review para nare-retain lahat ng information na yan. And kapag kayo ay nakatulog na, nako-consolidate yung information in a way that it produces learning, in a way that it strengthens your memory sa mga different topics and subjects na ito. So I have presented you this strategy, this technique, this tip, na sa ganun, kung gusto nyo siyang itry sa inyong session, you can try it. Or if currently, ang ginagamit nyo pa rin ay block style ng pagre-review, maybe it's a good time to re-evaluate yung style natin and consider mixing it up for stronger memory and for better learning. Okay, so yan po. Diyan po tayo nagtatapos. I am now going to end my presentation. And again, before we end, any questions from me about the topic, about studying, about reviewing? Of course, no problem. Robert King. Alala ko, taga Pangasinan ka, no? Pero di ka nag-take last year. But I remember you. In anyways, kung wala na pong question, again, next weekend, wala tayong online session kasi nagpe-prepare ako sa exam ko 3 araw. 4 na araw yon from Monday to Thursday. But I will be posting a uh, a asynchronous session ng ano ba yung subject natin? Crop science at saka agricultural extension. Maybe in a later date. Okay? Okay. Kung wala na pong tanong, going once, going twice, going thrice, maraming salamat po ulit sa pakikinig. I will meet you again on probably ang next meeting na natin would be August 8. Okay? Mga August 8 na ako kayo mamimit. Kasi yung first week ng August would be your mock exam 2. And then yung live coaching natin will continue on August 8, that's Saturday or Sunday. August 8, Saturday and Sunday. Now, let's see pala no kung Saturday at Sunday yung magiging schedule natin kasi niisip ko ang Sunday kasi is day ng pahinga rin sa marami. Kaya I am looking at changing it up to maybe Saturday at saka Monday na lang. Now, baka may nag-work sa inyo, sabihan nyo lang ako. So, I can have a census sa kung ano yung pinaka time natin na uma-attend dito sa live coaching session. So, but I will announce yung mga susunod pa na meeting natin. But again, I will see you guys on August 8. Okay? Sure na yan. August 8 na yung next na meeting. Sir, SPLE taker po ako next year. Matagal pa. Paano po yung access sa Google Classroom after December boards? Next year ka pa magti-take? Ma'am? Tama ba? Okay. Nandun pa rin yung access mo. I will not remove you. Kung sakali mang na-remove kita accidentally, after the December exam, i-chat mo lang ako, i-re-add kita. And wala nang payment yun, okay? So, nandun pa rin yung access niyo. Any more? Okay, I think that's it. Okay, thank you po, thank you. Thank you so much guys for tuning in and have a great rest of your day. Thank you po.